Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sports Ball, the new show that's talking about football, basketball, and hockey, and has a little bit of a lean towards South Florida. I am the host, Blake Kuzansky, and for this one, the first show, we're going to be talking about the AFC East and their off-season moves, and kind of where I think they might end up going towards the next season. It's an off-season review and a season preview. So if you enjoy, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. All will be greatly appreciated. Now let's get into the real discussions. All right, so we're going to go in order of where they finish in the division from worst to first. So we're talking about the New England Patriots first in this one. And in my opinion, they've had the best free agency out of the entire division, and they are looking like a pretty scary team for next year. A key thing was that Mike Vrabel is now the head coach. And for as all the good he brings to this team, I do have a few concerns that we'll talk about later after we go through all the moves that they've made. The next biggest one is that Stefon Diggs has arrived. He gives Drake May a proper receiver one option, the same way he gave Josh Allen that receiver one option in his early years in Buffalo. So if he can continue his level of play, he can be a really solid receiving option for New England. As a part of a receiver room that is very young, and it also has a lot to look forward to and kind of needs that mentor type figure. Now, will Stefon Diggs be that type of mentor? I highly doubt it, just because of what we've seen so far this offseason, but who knows, we will see. They also bring in Mac Hollins, which is a fantastic deep threat option that I'm a personal fan of due to his time in Miami. I really like Mac Hollins, and if anything, he could be another mentor type figure to the guys in that room, like Javon Baker, like Jalen Polk, like Kyle Williams, who they just drafted, and like Demario Douglas and the rest. So all around, the offense looking like it's going to be steadily improved, on top of also drafting Will Campbell, adding a few other offensive linemen through free agency. They also bring in Trayvon Henderson to pair with Ramondre Stevenson. They've added some great pieces to this offense. On top of a defensive additions that include Harold Landry, Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis, and Milton Williams. It's just a few of the also many adds they have made to that defense, which is already going to be a pretty solid defense because it is the New England Patriots. They're always going to have a really tough defense to go against. Now they add in pieces to truly make it a tough defense to go against. And because of that, this team is definitely looking to have a much improved year from last year. They also, all the draftees that they have, I feel it could be fringe starters to just more depth pieces, which in the NFL, across all of major sports, you need the depth pieces to shine towards the end of the season. So they have the pieces that could do that potentially. My main thing, though, is that Mike Vrabel is the head coach of this team. And I'm saying that because for as good as his tenure in Tennessee was, especially early in that tenure in Tennessee, he did have an issue of developing players towards the back half of it. And this is a New England team that is really going to need to nail on development. They also bring back Josh McDaniels, which is a great head offensive coordinator option for them as a whole case of he's going to be able to make this a simple offense for Drake May, the same way he did it for Mac Jones in his singular Pro Bowl year, and the same way he did it for Tom Brady the majority of his career. All around, the key thing is going to be can Vrabel develop these young guys that are on this team and that they just brought into this team, and can Drake May progress in the way you want him to? He had a very up and down rookie season. For the most part, it was up. I liked how he played the majority of that rookie season. The question is, can he continue his development in the right track under Mike Vrabel, and it's more specifically under Josh McDaniels? And can he stay up? The offensive line was a bit of an issue last year for New England. They added in the pieces to be able to try and fix that. And all around, if Drake May can stay upright and he can play well in that aspect and improve in that and improve in many aspects, and the defense continues to play in a New England style, they're going to be a really, really tough team to beat this year. It's going to be a fantastic team to watch this year. All around, though, New England's one of those teams where they can definitely be a top team. And I mean, a top team, but definitely be a team that's fighting for a playoff spot come December and November. So we'll see. Leave your thoughts down below on how you think New England will perform next year. I don't really have any specific floor or ceiling for them. I'll just say the ceiling is like 9 wins with the floor being about 6. Just because I still don't fully trust. It's still a young team. We'll see, but New England could definitely surprise me by being a threat of a team this year. Does still feel a bit early, but they're definitely on the right track. Next up, we'll discuss is the New York Jets. And there's a lot of movement with this Jets team, that a lot of pieces exiting, a lot of pieces entering. And they're a team that maybe bit off more than they could chew in terms of really what their roster can play to the level of. Aaron Glenn's the new head coach here in New York, another defensive minded guy. And I'm not a massive fan of this hiring, mainly for the Jets specifically. I think Aaron Glenn is going to be a great head coach, and in another ownership and another team, he would have been a fantastic head coach. But the Jets don't need more defensive minded guys leading the way just yet. Adam Gase has been the only offensive minded head coach they have had since their last playoff run, and which was in like 2011 at this point. It's been quite a few years, and they've only had Adam Gase to be an offensive minded guy. It went Rex Ryan to Todd Bowles to Adam Gase to Robert Saleh and now Aaron Glenn. So we'll see how another defensive minded guy plays out. I'm not high on it, mainly because you bring in Justin Fields to be the QB1. And he is a quarterback that, for as good as he played in Pittsburgh last year, he still has room to improve in the passing game. He's a mobile quarterback. Really, the first time we're going to see from the Jets have a true mobile quarterback starting every week for them. Yes, they've had guys as backups to be mobile quarterbacks, but for the most part, their starters, especially in the past few years, since their last massive playoff run, have been more traditional pocket passers or improvisers. So a true mobile quarterback to lead this Jets team is going to be an interesting change of pace for them. And I think that's kind of what they're hoping for throughout this entire team is to be a culture change. And this is a Jets culture that has really been in the gutter since the 70s. And a lot of it goes up to the guys up top in the ownership and in the front office. They also did replace their GM, but we'll see how much of an impact that really has. They do add to the receiver room a little bit, but it's really receiver room that's still highlighted by Garrett Wilson and not much else. They bring in Tyler Johnson and Josh Reynolds to be other pieces to that room, but it is still, at the end of the day, a pretty weak receiver room, I think, and definitely one where Justin Fields is probably not going to have the best time passing to guys not named Garrett Wilson, or not in the tight end room either. The tight end room, I'm actually pretty high on the Jets tight end room. I like it a lot. And the main thing is they drafted Mason Taylor out of LSU. I loved Mason Taylor coming out of college there. I wanted Miami to draft him. I have a fun personal history with Mason Taylor as well, having played against him at old Dolphins camps during those years. So all around, I really like Mason Taylor. I kind of wanted Miami to draft. Really just any team but the Jets to draft. But he's a great addition. Is going to make a massive impact for this team alongside their other early round draft picks. They drafted a guy out of Mizzou, Armand Membo, going to be a great offensive lineman for them, on top of signing Josh Myers to be a new center for the Jets. He's coming from Green Bay last year, played really well for the Packers to pass for in his rookie contract, and another great guy for the Jets. And the key thing is they're trying to keep Justin Fields stood up in the pocket when his style of play kind of leans towards to being an outside the pocket passer. It's a weird mix that we're going to see here for the Jets. And part of the reason why I'm not that high on them in general, they bring in a lot to try and help this defense, which is very, very fair. Because the defense drastically underperformed last year. And for a lot of people, that was the biggest issue for the Jets last year. For me, I had other issues, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But the defense are looking to improve. They bring in 4 new interior defensive linemen, 4 new secondary players, and they bring in 2 new linebackers, all trying to just re-bolster that room that at one point was a top 5 room in the league. So we'll see how much of an impact all of this makes. I'm not that high on the Jets. I think it'll be a bit of a down year as Aaron Glenn tries to find his identity as the head coach, and this Jets team tries to find their new identity in the post Aaron Rodgers 2-year stint, which is a weird thing to say, but it's really the nature of things. They put all their money on the Aaron Rodgers stint, and it did not play out, and now we have the aftermath of it. So let me know what you think of the Jets down below. Again, I'm not that high on them. We'll get to my division predictions towards the end of all this. But yeah, I'm not high on the Jets, so those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down below. All right, now it is time. Let's talk about my Miami Dolphins real quick. And for as much as they have definitely made moves this offseason, for as much as there's been a lot of talk during OTAs and minicamps about things before this offseason, there's really only one main driving factor and one main difference maker for this team, and that is the health of Tua Tagovailoa. That is a surprise to no one, at least it should be a surprise to no one. If Tua does not stay healthy, this team does not have a chance to compete. and they're trying to bring in solid backups. They signed Zach Wilson, who has not been having a good camp so far, and they bring in Quinn Ewers, but he's a Flyers 7th-round pick. So we'll really see if he can even make the opening day roster, which I kind of doubt. I think he'll be a practice squad guy. But again, you need to keep Tua healthy. So how do you do that? Well, Miami spent a good chunk of the offseason, They spent 3 different moves addressing the offensive line. They bring in James Daniels and they bring in Laren Borum in free agency to try and be guys for the interior offensive line. And they draft a dude out of Arizona that by the start of the season, I will learn to pronounce his name. Don't worry. But they draft a guy out of Arizona who can definitely be a starting caliber guard for us. But the main thing is, as long as we get Liam Eichenberg off the field, that's definitely a piece where you would prefer Eichenberg to be a utility backup offensive lineman instead of being the starting offensive guard. But we'll see. Nick Westbrook-Ikine is a new receiver 3 option for Miami to go alongside Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. And we'll see. I would much prefer, honestly, if we see Waddle become the receiver 1 this year, with Tyreek taking the receiver 1B/2 role. But I doubt that's going to happen because of money and all that. The offense, I think, will be fine. They also bring in Pharaoh Brown from Seattle last year to be a better blocking tight end than what Julian Hill was. But the issue is there's been a lot of discussions about Jonnu Smith potentially being traded and him wanting to stay in Miami, but Miami now wanting to get a different deal done, which would be a terrible decision on that end if Miami really does trade Jonnu Smith. The other thing is, obviously, we still have the Jalen Ramsey trade to wait for, but I'm not even going to begin talking about that yet until it gets done, because there's no point in talking about that. Alexander Madison is a new third down back for Miami to have, also a new primary power back to go alongside Devon Achane and Jalen Wright. Again, the thing you get most out of me this year is that I'm not worried about this offense as long as Tua stays healthy. The offense is not going to be an issue for me. Especially when you also bring in Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State. That was a great sleeper pick potentially. He definitely has potential to be an athletic threat in the backfield. To go alongside 2 other athletic threats in Jalen Wright and Devon Achane. The main thing though is definitely going to be the defense and in particular the secondary. They added a lot of pieces for that secondary to try and improve it, and the main being Ashton Davis. McDaniel has been on record right now in saying that he's going to be a starter in the safety position and will have full chance at that role, which I'm not fully high on, but at the same time, I mean, we don't really have anyone else to be a safety. We did lose both Javon Holland and Jordan Poyer in the offseason, which I'm kind of fine with losing both of those, but I was expecting to add in more pieces to the safety room besides this. And Miami's also been in talks in recent weeks about potentially bringing in more secondary members as well. The main ones being Rasul Douglas and Asante Samuel Jr. So we'll see. I think they'll probably have to wait until the Jalen Ramsey trade gets done in order for those guys to be brought in, but we'll see. The linebacking room is going to be interesting. They still have Jordan Brooks, who led the team in tackles last year. They keep Tyrell Dodson, which I love that move. He played fantastic for Miami down the stretch. They also bring in Willie Gay from Kansas City, who has been a fantastic member of this team so far, it seems, during camp. And they bring in KJ Britt, who is another really solid linebacking piece. The front 7, I am not worried about as long as they stay healthy. That's kind of the main thing with this team. They need to be able to stay healthy. The trio of Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and Chad Robinson is going to be a threat off the edge. And then you have Zach Sealer and first round pick Kenneth Grant to come in as the main interior defensive pairing. Going to be a real threat for teams to go up against if they can stay healthy. And that's the key thing, is they need to be able to stay healthy. This entire Dolphins team has that asterisk of if they can stay healthy, which I hate to say, but it is the fact of the matter with this team. They can bring in all the pieces they want. They can make all the trades they want. As long as Tua does not stay healthy, and as long as the defensive line does not stay healthy, they're not going to finally get over the hump of winning a playoff game since 2000. Again, I love that they brought in Jason Marshall and Dante Trader in the draft to add to the secondary room. I love that they bring in Jordan Phillips as well to help the interior defensive line also through the draft. This was a perfect draft strategy that Miami had. As you can tell, that Greer kind of had those feel the hot seat a bit. But as long as they cannot stay healthy, they're not going to be able to win games. This is a team with a very glass foundation. that a lot of people have been saying that since 2021. So if things play out perfectly, they're going to be a fantastic team. They're going to be a threat in the division and in the AFC. If even the slightest of things go somewhat wrong, we're going to see the season slowly degress from there, I feel, which would suck. But that's the nature of this team as it currently sits before getting into next season. Obviously, things could change, and we see players all of a sudden have a lot more durability and whatnot. But the nature of Miami is they need to stay healthy, and if they can't, they're not going to win when they need to most in November and December. Those are my thoughts as a Dolphins fans. I can go on for ages about talking about this team and what they need to do and what this team has added, but I won't waste too much time on it. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below. That'll be it for Miami. Let's go on to the next team. All right, it's time. Let's talk about Buffalo, then we'll get to the division predictions. So to bring in Joey Bosa as a kind of soft replacement to Von Miller, but both have kind of similar issues in which that Von Miller, he dealt with a lot of health and availability issues during his time in Buffalo. Joey Bosa is much the same way. But at the same time, though, this is kind of more so just an extra piece to that front seven, which is already a fantastic front seven, which they also added to in other moments during this offseason. I'm not worried about the Bills' front seven on defense. I'm not worried about the Bills' offense. I'm more so worried about their secondary. And boy, did they really try to address the secondary. They signed Derek Forrest and Dane Jackson to the secondary room, and they also drafted Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky in the first round. Another great piece to add to that secondary. But it's a secondary that to me needs to prove itself first before we truly discuss kind of how much they have improved and if they have improved at all from last year. They also draft TJ Sanders out of South Carolina, a good interior defensive lineman option for them. And that is 2 of the 6 draft picks they spent on defense, and they had 9 draft picks. So they were really defensive heavy in the draft this year, and that's completely fair. The offense is going to be just fine as long as you have Josh Allen. So they brought in Joshua Palmer as a great receiver option for Allen. But at the same time, it's not that massive threat like they had before with Stephon Diggs or Amari Cooper. It's just a case of it's another guy for Allen to throw the ball to after he's run around for 5 seconds behind the backfield. Again, Allen's gonna mask a lot of issues that the offense might have from the next year, and that's completely why they pay him the big bucks and completely why you want a guy like him. They also signed Kendrick Green for the offensive line, which is a fine offensive line acquisition. I'm not worried about this offensive line for Buffalo because Josh Allen is a pain in the ass to try and bring down behind in the pocket. You're not going to do it easily. So I'm not worried about this offense whatsoever. Because as long as Allen is there, they're going to have a chance to compete no matter what. In the playoffs, during the regular season, this is the Bills' division to lose. But they need to find a way to get over the hump in the playoffs one way or another. And that's where the cracks can really start to show. But at the end of the day, that's a discussion to have when we even get to that point. This is more so just a regular season preview video. But yeah, I'm high on Buffalo like most people are. My only wrinkle and the only concern I have is what's going on right now with James Cook and the contract talks. He is entering his final year of his rookie deal, and they have no real contract negotiations going on right now, it seems. And he is a guy you need to bring back and you need to pay. The ground game is massively important to Buffalo's offense, despite how much it's not really utilized. But James Cook is the type of back that can really make a difference for this offense. And yes, they have Ray Davis, who was a rookie last year out of Kentucky and played really well. And they have, I think, one other running back that I'm blanking on right now. But James Cook is the driving factor. He is the motor in that running back room. Someone that you really need to bring back, despite all that Josh Allen can do for you, both with his legs and through his arm. You need a reliable running back if you want to win it all in the NFL. We saw that last year with the Eagles and Saquon Barkley. We've seen that with Kansas City with Isaiah Pacheco. And we saw that we kind of saw that with the Rams as well. And we also definitely saw that with the Buccaneers when they had Leonard Fournette. It's going to be a running back that can make a difference in those games late in the season in January and February. If you don't have James Cook, your odds of being able to get over the hump go down. Maybe not drastically, but it definitely do go down. That's my only wrinkle. Let me know your thoughts down below on all this. So again, Buffalo's a team where there's not a lot to really touch on because they have Josh Allen and they have all the weapons still already. But still, figured we'll kind of touch on them a little bit here and really try to target that defense. Let me know your thoughts. And now, with all that being said, we have discussed all 4 teams. Let's get to the division prediction. Okay, so how do I think the AFC East will play out? Well, like I said before, this is the Bills' division to lose, so we'll have them in the top spot, finishing first in the division. And then, like I said also before, I'm not that high on the Jets. I feel like they're going to have a down year this year. So we're going to put them at last. So fourth is going to be the Jets. First is going to be Buffalo. So how do I feel about the Dolphins and the Patriots? There's going to be a little bit of bias in this, obviously, even though I have said before how in this video how high I am on the Patriots. I'm still going to have Miami finishing second and the Patriots finishing third. But the difference could very easily be a game, could be a tiebreaker, could be a half a game. Like, this is going to be a very tight race for second place in the division. And most likely, whoever does finish second in this division will probably get that 7th playoff spot in the AFC. But even then, they might not. It's going to be a very tough year for Dolphins fans. It's going to be a pretty solid year for Patriots fans. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a very weird year for the AFC East in general. Besides Buffalo, obviously, they're going to be just fine. So those are all my thoughts for the AFC East and their offseason and their upcoming season and what the division outlook will look like. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed. See you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one. Peace.